That's a good song. Well, I guess I could just... Hello everyone. Today, we will be continuing the read on Bendy, The Lost Ones. Currently, the song that I have playing is Fire Frequency from Delta Pure Waves. This song came to me from actually one of you guys. It's a beautiful song and it's really calming. I love the song, and even with me just listening to it for the second time, it's a really good song. So, hopefully you guys check it out, and, well, hopefully we can enjoy this read of Bendy the Lost Ones. Alright. Alright. Apologies for that, people. Let me get to the page. Come on, work with me here, please, book. Please, thank you. Thank you. So, we'll be reading from chapter 35 to chapter 40. So, hopefully this is a long video. Alright, I should probably have a light on. I forgot I don't have a light. Well, I guess my phone's gonna have to work for now. Oh god, that's bright. Don't mess with my keys, please. It works. Whatever. It's bright as hell, though. Chapter 35. Bill. I stood outside the door to the backstage like some ridiculous fan as the waiters prepared the tables for dinner service. It felt absurd just standing there, waiting, knowing that down in the deep depths, men were working on that machine that would destroy us all. Next to me was a fellow holding a bouquet of flowers, waiting for his girl to show up for work, no doubt. He looked so normal, so very unaware of the evil happening right now. Where was she? Why wasn't she here yet? A dozen girls had already passed by us and giggled at the man holding the flowers, yet no Constance to be seen. You're a little head over heels there, bud. Shifted in place, my nerves were so frayed. It felt like I was going to jump out of my own skin. Andrew! A familiar-looking girl with dark black hair done up perfectly in victory rolls, in a simple but charming red coat, bounded over to the man with the flowers. I expected some sort of embrace, but instead she stopped short and just smiled at me. What are you doing here? Come on. Split pages. Thank you. The man smiled. Hello, Lily. I've been waiting for your sister, he replied. Oh, she's not feeling well today. Shall I take the flowers for her? She reached out expectantly. She's not? He asked, looking quite thoughtful. Just a cold. You needn't worry like this. Lily was looking a little annoyed. I need to see her. There isn't anything I could do about that. Now give you the flowers. I promise I'll take them to her. At this point, the girl reached out to grab the flowers, but Andrew yanked them back. No, I'm going to her. Lily sighed hard. Fine, then. She's at home. You could find her there. Tell her I tried to be a good sister. She wouldn't believe you. She grinned. Bill, are you waiting for her too? Suddenly, the girl was looking right at me, and that's when I remembered her from the boardwalk. Of course. She was Constance's sister. Wait, was that the sister they'd been talking about just now? I am. You say that she's at home. She's not well? Lily nodded and made to speak, but she was interrupted gruffly by Andrew. Why are you looking for Constance? He asked. Andrew and I stared at each other. There was something going on inside him. Something that seemed more than just a potential jealous view. Then again, There was always something else going on inside us. Something secret we never tell anyone. A deep, terrible fear of the future, maybe. Or was that just me? We're friends, I said. Andrew, this is William Chambers, said Lily in a meaningful tone. You know who Mr. Chambers is, don't you? Andrew nodded, but still looked at me closely. Shall we go together to see her? I asked, trying to sound friendly. I also thought this was the perfect solution to my problem, considering I had no idea where she lived. Andrew nodded again. The man had gone mute. Come, I'll pay for the jittery, I said. Andrew scoffed at that. Surprised someone like you doesn't own a fancy car. I do. I just hate driving, I replied. I hated everything about it. The speed, the danger. To be in control of something that could easily spin out of control. I shivered at the thought. Fine. Let's go. Andrew walked off suddenly towards the exit, holding the flowers down and letting them just swing in his hand as if they weren't delicate things easily destroyed. Then again, I realized as I followed him, technically, they were already dead. Well, that's how flowers are. Constance. There was a time when my sister telling me that two boys were waiting outside to see me would have filled me with joy. I'd always dreamed... oh, Jesus, apologies, people. I'd always dreamed of being able to attract the attention of multiple suitors. In this moment, however, it was the last thing I was interested in. I had organized a series of test tubes and was working on a literal solution to eliminate the ink. I discovered that adding some iron oxide into the mix was having an amazing result. I didn't have time for boys who were annoyed with me. And what's more, I was the one more annoyed with them. That's not brand new. It made me question my old desires for suitors in the first place. Was romance something I was interested in, or was pleasing my parents and getting married and helping support the family more the goal? Was anything in my life really about what I wanted? I huffed and stood up, feeling so frustrated. I didn't care to see either of them. I didn't care to waste any more time than needed, so I slipped on my winter boots and grabbed my lined blue dressing gown. I rushed past Molly, still standing by my door, through the kitchen before anyone could comment. I did hear Mother say, "You can't go out like that." But what did it matter? What did anything matter? I didn't care what anyone thought. I stormed downstairs and glared at Mrs. Williams as she peeked around the ground floor door, the chain still on. I flung open the front door to the building. Standing there before me was Andrew, seething with a bouquet of flowers, and Bill, looking like he'd seen a ghost. "What?" I asked, putting my hands on my hips. "You act so demure and so hurt, and yet you are a hypocrite, Miss Gray," said Andrew, tossing the flowers onto the ground. "I beg your pardon?" I asked. I wanted to laugh. Those poor little flowers on my stoop. They hadn't done anything wrong. For the matter, neither had I. "You're dating William Chambers," he said, pointing to Bill standing right next to him. "Now see here," said Bill, all flustered. "Oh, please," I replied with a very hearty roll of my eyes. This was absurd. Your jealousy's making you irrational. Then what is he doing here, looking for you at the theater? He's my friend, Andrew. You do know about friends, don't you? Sarcasm does not suit you, he said. Well, pouting doesn't become you. I shook my head and looked at them both. I stood at the top of the 3 small steps. It gave me enough height that I felt literally above them both. Though, to be honest, I was rather glad to see Bill. I had so much to say to him. What happened to the sweet, shy girl I wanted to go steady with? Andrew asked, shaking his head. That's the problem, Andrew. I was never sweet and never shy. You were just too busy talking about yourself to notice. And maybe that was my fault. Maybe I should have spoken up sooner. I don't know. I don't know why. I always was so quiet. Why? I'm a goofy girl for people. I don't know. I don't know why I was always so quiet anymore, really. Well, why can't you be like that again? Now I laughed. I closed my eyes and shook my head, and I found that laughing this way felt freeing, like yelling or throwing something. It wasn't quite the same, but I felt that pressure release like a kettle whistling. Don't laugh at me. I opened my eyes. Don't ask me such stupid questions again then. Enough of this, both of you, Bill said in the way he sometimes spoke, imitating his father. I wonder if he knew how silly he looked, like a small child wearing their parents' shoes. You should leave now, Andrew, I said. I stared him down. He, for his part, attempted to do likewise, and I wondered if all the staring contests for my sisters had actually given a practical purpose in the end. The lady has asked you to leave, said Bill, interrupting the battle. Andrew looked at Bill, then back again. If I leave now, and that's it. It's over between us. Andrew, it was over between us when I left you at the tea house. You don't get to take that away from me to make yourself feel better. I have no idea where the words were coming from, and how they flowed so easily, but it felt incredible. No, I did know where they came from. I just didn't care right at the moment. In the moment, I was happy to let the feelings have free rein. You're just like your sisters. You don't care about romance. You just want attention from men, he said, leaning in. And then he was leaning away, holding his face with his hands. I hadn't known I had the ability to slap a person. That's crazy. I'd never done such a thing before, but I had felt easy and right. Don't you ever say anything about my sisters. Don't you ever come near anyone of my family again. I was ready to launch myself at him. I was ready to hit him again. How dare he? Constance, no, said Bill, putting himself between us. Andrew, you need to leave. I'm gone. She's bonkers. He staggered away. I fumed, watching him retreat like a dog with his tail between his legs. You should have let me at him, Bill, I said. No, I don't think I should have. Though he would have deserved it. Are you okay? He asked. Never felt better, I replied. Finally shifted my focus to him. What are you doing here anyways? Bill still looked concerned and was starting to annoy me. He was here for a reason, and yet somehow Andrew had ruined that as well. Bill, I said, please, what are you doing here? He nodded and said, I learned so much about the machine, and the last day I have to tell you everything. I stared at him. I had anticipated an apology, or possibly that he wanted to ask me on a date himself, but that he was doing the very thing he had told me not to. I was both upset and impressed. Did you lie to me then, to protect me in some grand gesture? I asked. No, absolutely not. He stopped and thought about that. Not that I wouldn't want to protect you, but I swear that I thought it was the best course of action at the time. I still do. You still do. Now I was confused. I smiled at Mr. Sweet and his little boy as they walked by and waved. I think we need to go inside. Why don't we have the benefit of space like in your neighborhood? We're being watched. It sounded ominous, but it wasn't. It was just the fact that Miss Fields across the street on the second floor was absolutely watching us through the curtains. The street enjoyed a good gossip. What street doesn't? Okay, said Bill, looking a little worried. I opened the door and he took off his hat, passing through the threshold. I walked in silence up the stairs, and as we approached my apartment, I took in a quiet breath. Bringing home a boy was not something any of us girls did. For Lily, it was because she never took any of her Buicks seriously enough to bring home for Molly. For Molly, it was because she preferred her privacy. As for me, well, it's because I never, before Andrew, had ever had a boy to bring home in the first place. Bill would have been welcomed with open arms, and that was part of the problem. The sound of Mr. Chambers in our apartment. I worried my mother would be embarrassed without the notice to clean everything, and my father would be aware of his poverty. I worried what Bill would think. if he would think less of me. He always seemed to think I walked on water, or at least I was impressive for diving into it. All of this I thought in a moment, but I couldn't pause before opening the door and loudly announcing, "Bill Chambers has come to visit." My mother and Molly came over, all smiles. They were already dressed to take in Lily's new show. My mother had in hand, my mother's hat in hand, and Molly wrapping her scarf around her neck. They froze on the spot as he entered the apartment. Father, meanwhile, stood casually from his armchair, folding up the paper and placing it on his seat. He looked very much as if he'd been expecting Bill and not remotely taken aback by his presence. He and Bill shook hands. "Lad, you just missed dinner. Can I offer you a coffee?" he asked. "I'm fine, Mr. Gray," replied Bill, all politeness. "Constance, dear, why don't you change into something more appropriate?" my mother said, hiding her mortification that I was in my dressing gown in such company. But I knew she was feeling it accurately. I'm fine, I replied. "I'm going to show Bill my chemistry set." I motioned for Bill to follow me. "I'm not sure about that, young lady," said my mother. My father reached for his coat and nodded in agreement. I didn't have time for their sudden old-fashioned behavior. "He is coming with me to my room, and you will trust me," I said curtly. My mother looked at me with some surprise. I was getting used to this now. "Constance," said Molly, as a way of gently telling me what I said was unkind. "Please, I am under the weather. Just let me do this," I said. "You all go to the theater. I promise everything would be just fine." My mother and father looked at each other, and finally Molly nodded slowly. What could they really do? They could say no, but how often did any of their girls bring back a boy of such high standing as a Chambers? The three of them left, with Molly mouthing, "Be good," to me as they did. I hated that Mother didn't approve, but I knew that there was more important things happening right now than what she thought. So I quickly led Bill down the narrow hall and into my bedroom, closing the door behind us. Only then did I feel the weight of the social propriety fall heavy on my shoulders. I was alone in my room with a boy. My cheeks got red. I hope Bill didn't notice. "This is incredible," he said. He had made a beeline for my desk. Hold on. I'm going to go close my window real quick. All right. Let me put that down a little. Not seeming to have the same concerns. Once again, I felt anger at the double standard. It didn't even occur to him that a reputation could be injured this way. Why would it? He was protected by the virtue of being a boy, and a rich boy at that. I quickly joined him. "I've learned so much about the ink," I said. "And I've learned so much about the machine. Tell me..." Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Come on, work with me, please. Thank you. Bill looked up at me and then glanced around the room as if someone might be lurking in the evening shadows were growing up my walls. Maybe there was. I glanced towards the corner where I'd grabbed and instinctively pulled the wrist of my dressing gown down to hide the black of my nightgown beneath it. "The machine belongs to a man named Joey Drew," he said. "Joey Drew? You mean like Joey Drew Studios?" I asked, shocked. "Of course I've heard of him." I did. "You heard of him?" "Of course. I watched the Bendy cartoons as a child at the cinema. Until this very moment, I completely forgot about that. Funny how certain childhood memories stay to haunt you forever and others just vanish as if the moment of your life had never happened in the first place. Well, it looks like Mr. Connor made the machine for Joey in New York, but then brought it here to Atlantic City," said Bill. "Why?" "From what I understood, they needed to fix the machine. It's broken. I actually helped Mr. Connor a few weeks ago on that. That's how I knew about the machine in the first place. I think I brought it here because the Gent Company has unique facilities and connections in Atlantic City. Easier to bring a giant machine here than send some Gent employees to New York," I asked. That seemed very doubtful. Bill shook his head. "I guess so. Or maybe what happened to us wasn't weird. Maybe it happened before. Maybe they had to get it out of New York, you mean, said Bill, following my train of thought. There was a monster trapped down there, Bill. It wasn't just living underground, it was purposely trapped. I started to understand better what was going on. It made me furious. How dare they? How dare they bring a monster here, as if people in Atlantic City don't matter like they do in New York? What is wrong with them? I sat hard on my bed, my brain swirling with rage. We all matter, and these men just thought that they could bring something like this here and put us all in danger. Well, they plan on taking it back to New York once it's fixed, said Bill, looking nervous now. Then again, lately he'd been looking quite nervous in general. And of course, machines never break again. But does the monster go with them? I squeezed the edge of my comforter with my hands. I was boiling over, but I didn't have any outlet. What have you learned about the ink? The question helped focus my mind. I loosened my grip on the edge of my comforter. I'm pretty sure I found a way to erase it. Finally, I made a solution. It's in that vial there. I pointed at a stoppered test tube sitting in a little wooden stand that had come with the book. It was a dark crimson thanks in part to the iron oxide. The liquid was thick, similar to consistency to the black ink. In fact, with the texture and color, it was quite frankly a good deal like blood. You did? He turned and looked at the vial. He seemed almost mesmerized by it. I also found out that the ink does something. It seems to enhance something deep inside whatever it makes contact with. For a little beetle trying to escape, it made it manic and desperate. I watched as Bill gently picked up the vial. He looked at it closely, examining it. I see, he said. I think it had an effect on me, Bill, I confessed. He didn't react. He didn't seem surprised. Yes, that makes sense too. It does. He turned and looked at it. It had an effect on me as well. Chapter 37. Bill. Confessing to someone that the deepest part of me was a coward and had not been something I was planning on doing today, or indeed ever in my life. But here I was, looking at Constance, knowing that the truth was not just necessary in the moment, it was vital. I'm scared all the time now, I said. I've always been a little scared of what my future held, of being out of control of the world. Never enough to feel like when you read a scary book, but it's always there. Constance nodded. Holy my! Ha! Now, I felt like I was running away all the time. I have to run away. I ran away today out of the tunnel, tried everything to make us run away from Brant. I stopped. My throat closed suddenly. I felt like I was going to cry. Couldn't do that now. Now was not the time for that. I focused my attention on a little vial filled with blood. No, it wasn't blood. I knew that, but it looked like it. It also scared me. I turned it around in my hand, watching the liquid run from top to bottom, oozing as I flipped it slowly over and over again. I'm so angry, said Constance. I'm sorry, I replied, apologizing for my confession, for my bad behavior. There we go. I felt terrible. I was such a horrible person. No, I'm always angry, she said, like you. I think I've always had this need to be heard, to shout out, to feel understood. It's a lot. I felt some small relief. She didn't judge me. She had her own. What the heck? Guess that's going to be my new bookmark. Apologies, people, I accidentally lost my bookmark. I felt some relief. She didn't judge me. She had her own concerns. Not everything was about me. So, should we take this? I asked, still looking at the vial. I didn't really want to. The red, the consistency, it made me sick to my stomach. I looked up at her. She shook her head. I don't know. I don't know if it's safe. Clean my gloves, but can it undo the effects? Do we want to undo these effects? Of course we do, I said. I couldn't live like this much longer. The battle not to flee every moment was getting harder and harder. You must want to be yourself again. Constance sat looking at her lap, her hands tightly grasping the corner of her bed. I think this is more myself than I've ever been, she said, looking up at me. She looked scared, almost petrified. She was shaking, and I couldn't understand why. Isn't what we are experiencing just a magnified version of ourselves? You won't lose yourself entirely. Bill, shut up. That's crazy. That's probably more. Bill, shut up, Constance said. No one in my life except my father has ever said that to me. It made me freeze in my place, hurt, but also frightened. Stay perfectly still, she said. I realized that she wasn't looking at me. She was looking just past me, just over my head, behind me. I heard a dripping then, like a leaking faucet. Drip, drip, drip. I heard it just by my ear. I felt nothing but pure terror. I couldn't feel my hands, or my feet, or my heartbeat. All I felt was white, hot brightness inside me, a paralyzing, uncompromising level of fear that I've never felt in my life. Constance rose very slowly, reaching as she did, staring at whatever stood behind me. It's okay, she said softly, but not to me, to it. I thought of the black ink under my chair in the corner of my room, the face outside the window. It was a monster. It was the monster. My mouth went dry. Bill, you need to stay still. Well, that wasn't a hard instruction to follow. Hi, she said with warm gestures, gentleness to the thing behind me. We met last night, didn't we? The drip sound sloshed behind me now, like something was moving. Don't be frightened, she said. I just wanted to laugh at that. Whether it was behind me was not the one that was frightened. I'm Constance. This is Bill. I watched whatever behind me make a strange soft moan sound. Are you hurting? Do you need help? She started walking towards me, towards it. I held my breath, terrified that the thing would that the sound would antagonize the monster. The dripping behind me got quieter, as if it was backing away. You can stand now, Bill, but very slowly, she said, not making eye contact and continuing to move slowly towards us. I wasn't sure I could, but I also knew I couldn't sit here with my back to a monster much longer. With all the will I could find, I forced the fear down, like swallowing burning bile in your throat. And I slowly stood, my legs shaking as I did, but I made it to standing and I turned, keeping my head lowered. I didn't want to make eye contact with the beast. Finally, I raised my head slowly and saw for the first time a figure. Feet first, legs, then a body, then a head. It was a figure dripping in ink. And if an ink puddle had taken human form, it had no eyes, no mouth, no nose. The ink dripped off of it continuously on the floor, and it was reobserved to do the journey all over again. It stood there, near the wall, near the shadows. It seemed to be staring at us. The white-hot fear I felt dissipated slightly, but now I could feel my heart thumping in my chest again. The panic rise, the desire to charge towards the door and run out the apartment. What do you want from us? I asked it. I wanted to sound calm like Constance, but my voice quivered. It moaned again, then lifted up one of its inky arms, raised it at us. A finger materialized from the ink. It pointed at me, right at me. It's gonna kill me, I said. I was lightheaded. I didn't want to die. You want Bill, said Constance. The figure almost seemed to shake its head. Slowly, it moved side to side, and then the whole figure glided towards us. Forward towards us, towards me. It moved faster than it would, and then stopped, inches from my face. I could see the ink now, flowing in and out and around. I was mesmerized by it. Suddenly, the monster grabbed my wrist. I called out in pain. It held my wrist hard and raised my hand perpendicular to the floor. How could ink that has no substance still have the substance to grab, squeeze, and hurt? Oh my goodness, Bill, it wants the vial. Constance's eyes were wide with wonder. Is this what you want? The solution? The monster turned its head to look at her, despite having no eyes. Give it to him, Bill. It held my wrist fast. I couldn't open my hand, My fear was keeping my grasp tight around the glass. I can't. I want to, but Constance was beside me then. In my ear, a harsh whisper. Do it. Don't be angry. I want to. I willed my hand to open. I couldn't. I'm sorry, she said, understanding them. Remembering my recent confusion. I'm sorry. You can do this. You're more than just your fear. You're just like I'm more than my anger. I closed my eyes, but I could see the monster in my mind. I opened them again and looked right at the creature. It didn't want to hurt me. It just wanted the vial. Just let go. Just let go. Just let go. My hand opened suddenly, and Constance grasped as the vial fell. The monster caught it. It moved so fast, so inhumanly. It turned away from us, and I started to breathe again, lightheaded from the air flowing through my body. We watched as the monster stood there, its back to us, as it consumed the vial, the glass, and all where its mouth should have been. What happens now? Whispered Constance. I shook my head. Words would not form. The monster suddenly seized as if it was in great pain, bending over and against the wall. It fell to the ground and writhed onto its back, spasming and jerking around. I wondered if it was dying. I realized I wouldn't mind if it did, just disappeared altogether, like a stain being erased. There were a few more violent motions, and then the creature curled up into the fetal position, lying on its side like a small child. I didn't care. I wasn't going to feel sorry for it. Then it released a moan, a wail, a cry long and piercing, as if it was in great pain. Then pop, just like that, just like Brent. The creature exploded, ink flying everywhere. I turned to protect my face and held up my arms. Then stillness. Oh my God, said Constance beside me. Is it gone? I asked, not wanting to turn and look. No, he said, but she said it in a way that made me curious. Despite my horror, I turned back. I turned to look. On the ground lay a figure, a person. No ink creature, no monster. They moaned again slightly and rolled onto their backs. Oh my God, said Constance, this time bringing her hand to her mouth. Knock, knock. Who's there? Brant. Chapter 38. Brant. I said. They stared down at me with these looks on their faces. It made me laugh. Nope, still hurts. The good thing about being an ink monster? No pain. Being a person again meant the whole squeezed ribcage situation was back in full force. I took in a deep breath. Ow, ow, ow. Quick! Help her onto the bed, said Constance. Now I wasn't sure how they were going to accomplish that. So I shook my head and slowly started to push myself up. But instantly they grabbed me under my arms. I let them. Together we managed to lug this broken body into the bed, and once again I was lying on my back. The antidote works, said Bill, as he sat next to me. Seems to do something all right, replied Constance, sitting to my right. Is there more? I saw Constance shake her head no. What were they talking about? I had a flash of a memory then, of something red like blood, of reaching out for it, desperately needing it. I'll make more, though, she said. Then we both seemed to notice my existence again. In unison they looked down at me. Brant, how are you feeling? Oh, swell, horse girl, swell. I closed my eyes and braced myself against the pain of speaking. This is impossible, said Bill from my left. Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, Bill, old pal. It happened. I felt a rush of shame flow through me, which was good because it distracted me from the searing pain. Hey, gang, I just want to apologize. What on earth for? Asked Constance. It was a little situation we found ourselves in. I winced and grabbed at my side. Maybe you shouldn't talk anymore, she said, looking so wonderfully worried. Nah. Anyway, it's all my fault. I made us open up that icebox, followed you two when I wasn't invited, so I'm sorry. I was feeling a little lightheaded now. Please don't, she said. Let me get you some water. She vanished from view, and I heard a door open and close. I lay there with a thoughtful Bill staring somewhat in front of him, the perfect view up his nose. Poor little rich kid. Finally, he looked down at me again. What was it like? He asked quietly as if he didn't want anyone else to hear. Sorry, pal. What was what like? I asked. What, when you were that thing? He said he was so pale, like a shadow of a fellow I had known before everything had happened. It's hard to remember. I closed my eyes again, trying to look back. I saw only flickers, like still photographs in a book. Snapshots. There was a lot of darkness, but not when the lights are turned out. It was a thick, swirling blackness, like being caught in a whirlpool in the depths of the ocean. And there was moments of bright white light in the distance and moving towards it, like how many folks describe dying to be. But once I was at the light, I would suddenly be in a room, in a place I didn't recognize. I was aware of that. I saw Constance, I saw Bill, I saw them, and I knew inside that I was reaching out for them, trying to find them. Something inside me kept dragging me into that light. I don't know how I got to those places. I don't know where I went when I left. It was like a dream. Then tonight happened. It was complicated for me to understand, and how to tell Bill about it seemed impossible. Afraid I can't explain it. Constance was back with water. Can you sit up, Brent? I nodded. I can try. Once again, they gently helped me, and for the first time, I felt a little more human. Feeling human was a really swell thing to feel. Constance carefully handed me a glass of water, and I took it. It felt so heavy to hold. There was so much substance to it. It was so solid. It really existed in a reality, existing sort of, in a really existing sort of way. I stared at it. Brent, are you okay? Good question, horse girl. I took a sip of water. The cold ran down my throat. I felt it in my insides. It was fantastic. It tasted so good, better than any soda or fancy drinks I ever had. I had suddenly an absurd idea that I should bottle it and try and sell it. I was definitely still a little loopy. So, I said, holding the glass in both my hands, enjoying the cool feeling. What's new? Constance smiled and Bill frowned, and I felt like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. Home at last. The machine belongs to Joey Drew, explained Constance. The animator. Sure, that's interesting. Does that explain the ink? I asked. I noticed Constance glare at Bill, and I turned to look at Bill's reaction. We hadn't thought of that kind of connection, said Bill. Okay, I said. They need to fix the machine, then bring it back to New York, Constance continued. And the monster? You're not the monster, said Bill, more to himself than anything. I'm flattered you realize that, I said with a grin. The shame welled up again. I didn't know where this feeling of remorse was coming from. I never normally felt like this. I guess I always had some guilt, taking on a job that didn't make much money for my own ambition, and not helping my family out more. Of course, there was what I was feeling right now, knowing I'd be lying to Bill all this time. But usually I could push things down. Say, Bill, I said. He looked at me. I have something I need to confess. Feeling pretty ashamed of myself right now, I'm not usually the one for humility. I laughed a little, trying to hide my discomfort, and the sharp pain prodded my side helpfully. Well, that's no surprise, said Constance. You see, that's the other thing we discovered. The ink seems to have an effect on a person, seem to latch onto one's inner demons, as it were. She was looking so intently at me, it was almost ridiculous. Then she said, unless that was a joke. It was, and it wasn't, I replied. So evidently the ink makes me terrified, and I'm going to just say this now to you two. We don't have time to catch up like this. We don't have time for any of this, said Bill. His voice actually shaking. It threw me. I felt really sorry for the guy. What do you mean? Asked Constance. What do I mean? These men are fixing the machine as we speak. I was with them. They want to move it soon. Joey said they need to move it tomorrow. I don't know if they even are still alive down there with that monster still roaming, but we have to stop them. Bill was almost panting now, speaking so rushed and out of breath. Well, that's what the authorities are for, replied Constance. Don't be absurd, Constance, said Bill. I felt a bit like I had an angel and a devil on my shoulders, debating with each other for the moral high ground. It was kind of funny, but also exhausting to keep turning my head back and forth. Why? That's what the police are for, said Constance. Well, maybe in other cities, but here in Atlantic City, they are my father's personal security system, I said, wanting a role in this performance. Bill looked at me for a moment and then nodded. Exactly, and how it looks like my father and Joey are considering working together. Ah, the missing piece of the puzzle. Those men are from New York. I thought they were the mob. I think they are also potential investors. I think Joey Drews might be needing an influx of cash. The cartoons certainly not as popular as they once were, said Constance. She thought for a moment. That machine and all that ink, I wonder if there's a new way to make cartoons. Maybe invent a whole new kind of way of filming. Filmmaking we don't even know yet. It's definitely a kind of ink. That's for sure, I said under my breath. So if we can't call the authorities, what can we do, Bill? She sounded anxious herself, but also annoyed. The machine needs to be destroyed. There was a complete silence then. Tonight, added Bill, in case we couldn't figure that part out. How do you propose we do that? We barely survived last time, said Constance, sounding even more frustrated. Fun story. I didn't, I added. No one found that funny. Once again I felt ashamed. This ink was definitely doing a number on me, all right. It's not we, Constance. I have to do it. I'm the one here who knows anything about the machines. It's my fault that the two of you were brought into this. It's my fault that Joey has the money to make it work again. It's my father's fault that Joey has the money to make it work again. Besides, said Bill, I fix things. It's what I do. I have to fix this. Oh, just stop it, said Constance. I'm tired of you boys thinking everything is about you. You might understand the machine, but I understand the ink. And if this is the plan, I'm going to help you. It's dangerous, said Bill. I don't care. I want to do something that matters. Why won't anyone let me do anything that matters? She stood in a rush of anger. I'll tell you what, I added. Let me help. I bet I can walk. Probably. Another attempt to cut the tension with some humor. But again, it failed. Tough crowd, as Bob Hope might say. Don't be foolish, Brant, said Constance dismissively. Hey, look, it'll make for a great story. Probably even above the fold, I said. What do you mean, she said. What? What is above the fold? I realized what I had said. The shame flowed fast and furious. I was drowning again, but this time not in thick black ooze. I looked at Bill, who looked at me. The portrayal on his face was so easy to read. He might as well have written the words across his face. You're a reporter, he said in that question-not-question way of his. Of course you are. That's the only reason you want to be friends, isn't it? That's why you were there that night. You followed us for a story. Look, I said, trying to prop myself higher but slipping on the pillow. Yes, but I think you're a swell guy, Bill. I think we are real friends, even if the beginning was not as real. I can't believe you. How could you do this to me? Bill, when you think about it, it's not so bad. People meet in all kinds of circumstances. And what happens after the fact? You asked us to open that ice box. You did it for a story. Well, that's it, Constance said, her voice loud and angry. I will not listen to another moment of this. Are you both not aware that time is slipping away from us? Who cares if you're real friends or not? In what world does it matter when a monster is on the loose and a machine filled with ink that could destroy us all is being shipped to the largest city in America tomorrow? There was more silence, mine at least, filled with mortification. And if Bill had said what was true about the ink's effect on him, I would not have been surprised at all if he wasn't completely terrified of Constance in this moment. You're right, he said. I nodded in agreement. Good. So shall we go destroy the machine? Yes, said Bill. I nodded in agreement again. Good, said Constance. She took in a slow breath to calm herself and released it. Now let me get changed out of my dress. Let me get changed out of my dressing gown. You look like Catherine Hepburn, said Bill as he held the taxi door open for me. He said it quietly, under his breath, like he was afraid he might be insulting me, and also like he didn't want Brant to hear. I reminded myself of everything he did and said would be tinged with fear. Thank you, I said. I didn't think I looked much like the famous actress, but I was wearing trousers, and she was best known for her elegance wearing them. For my part, I just thought destroying dangerous machines would be less practical in a skirt. The ethics of the choice had not been on my mind. So this is where the world ends, said Brant, coming up beside us, staring with us at the dingy little bar. Hopefully not, I said. Come on, lead the way, Bill. We don't have time to admire the scenery. Stay calm, I told myself. Stay calm. Bill nodded and led us inside towards the back room. No one stopped us. There weren't even many people to do that anyways, but even the bartender didn't give us a second look. Did he know what lurked beneath him? Did he care? He emptied an empty back room, and Bill put down his tool bag and carefully felt along the black wall. He stopped, smiled to himself, took in a deep breath, and pushed. The wood panel in his hands retreated an inch and then slid to the side. I hate secret entrances, I said, thinking about that evil metal door in the factory. I hate them more, said Brant. We looked at each other and he gave me a wink. How was he standing upright in the first place impressed me, but that he was walking and joking with nothing short of miraculous. Let's go, let's go, let's go, ordered Bill frantically. I flicked on my flashlight and walked through the hole in the wall. The floor sloped downward and I shone the light around the space in front. The tunnel in the distance was all darkness, but to the side there was a conveyor belt. These bootleggers had thought of everything. More light flooded the tunnel. I looked behind me to see Bill and Brent coming up beside me. Come on, said Bill, and he started walking down the tunnel. We followed, and I thought it was interesting how fear could propel a person forward, not just hold them back. There was the fear of the thing, but there was also the fear of not doing the thing. In this case, I suppose the fear of what would happen if we didn't break the machine, if it was taken back to New York. Excuse me. All right. We followed him down the tunnel, surrounded by the light of 3 flashlights. The darkness followed behind us, and every once in a while I glanced back at the darkness, wondering if there was anything in the shadows, if the monster was stalking us, and not the other way around. I squeezed the fire poker I was carrying in my right hand, just to remind myself it was there. I wasn't entirely sure what would I do with it. I'd never been taught how to fight, but I knew that the constant churning anger inside me would tell me what to do. The dark void in front of us turned slightly brighter and brighter until we stopped in front of a wall. The tunnel forked. Now we had a choice between left and right. Which way, Bill? I asked, frustrated at his indecision. He was supposed to be a leader, after all. He'd been here before. Left, he said, not sounding entirely certain. Definitely left. We followed him left, though as we turned I shone my flashlight right, just to see any hint of a machine in that direction. All there was more darkness. We continued down the tunnel. Our flashlights highlighted sudden black voids in the wall, turn-offs down other tunnels. We kept going straight, but I marveled at it all, at the size of this underground system. How had they built all this? Was it built to transport illegal alcohol, or had some of it existed before? It didn't matter. None of my questions mattered. All that mattered was the task before us. We had to do this. We just had to. We reached another wall, another fork in the road. Bill stopped. Which way? I asked again, feeling even more annoyed. It shouldn't be taking so long. I don't know, he replied. You don't know? I asked. This is absurd. I didn't make it this far. He was quiet when he said it, almost ashamed. He shone his light down one direction and then the other. I don't know. He did it again. I don't know. I really don't know. The light started to shake, and I looked at his hand. His whole body was shaking. He was panicking. We didn't have time for this. Hey, said Brant, coming up beside him, putting a hand on his shoulder. We followed the conveyor belt. He pointed with his light to the right and made sure enough there was another conveyor belt along the far wall. Bill looked again. He nodded. Yes, that makes sense. Lead the way, said Brant, giving him a friendly pat on the back. Bill nodded and turned right. We followed him again. It was like we'd be following him forever. I couldn't take much more of this. My skin was itchy with frustration. I felt like a small child wanting to cry out, "Are we there yet?" And then we were there. Another wall, but not like the other tunnels. This was a door-shaped seam cut out into it, and a divot at hand level. Bill immediately figured out how to open it by sliding it to the left. So many sliding doors. There it was, right there. We were standing at the far end of the room, facing the far side of the machine. Instantly, my heart was in my throat as the memories came flooding back. I didn't want to think about any monsters lurking in the shadows, so I quickly marched across the room and turned on the lights. They flickered to life and highlighted the familiar space. I looked around. I saw the icebox, the door still open. Well, that hadn't recaptured the beast, it seemed. Of course they didn't. What incompetence. Well done, Bill, said Brent. Again, Bill just nodded. Why don't you sit down and rest for a moment? We don't have time for that, I said from across the room. How could anyone rest at a time like this? Yes, we do, replied Brant, giving me a meaningful look. The boys and their meaningful looks. Half the time they didn't even know what the meaning was. They just experienced the rest of us to... They expected the rest of us to assure something profound. We really don't. I glanced at the open secret door. There was nothing but blackness beyond it. No, not nothing. Somewhere out there lurked a monster that wanted to kill us all. If I hadn't been so scared of luring the beast to our presence, I would have screamed in frustration. Brent helped Bill to sitting, leaning him against the wall. Then he looked over to me. I could see pain in every step he took. We can't let the ink win. Don't let your anger take over, doll. Don't call me doll, I said. I'm sorry. I won't again. Let him recover. He can't do the work properly. It'll take less time this way. You know that's true. I considered what he meant, but it felt impossible to just sit and wait for Bill to get over the fear that he could never get over. Just like I could never get over this rage. When we finished all this, I'll make another vow of this solution. I'll fix us. I could fix things too. I walked over to the machine, to what I decided its front with a giant open pipe like a gaping maw. I stared into the black ink coating the inside, in the darkness and shadow. Don't touch it, called out Bill from his spot on the ground. I'm not going to, I said as calmly as I could. I had no intention of touching the machine. I remember that night clearly. I remember Brent reaching up inside and then the sound of the monster. A monster that must still be on the loose somewhere. What do we do, Bill? I asked. Bill was sitting there like a lump, looking at the ground. He took in a breath and let it out. He did it again. He was wasting time. He was being indulgent. He was being a rich kid who never actually had real-world troubles falling onto his shoulders until now. And now that this was happening, he couldn't face them, ink or no ink. This is who he was. I couldn't stand it. I wouldn't stand for it. Why was I sitting here waiting for him to make all the decisions? I had a brain too. I knew what needed to be done. We needed to destroy the machine. It was simple as that. We probably didn't even need Bill in the first place to do it. Breaking things is so much easier than fixing them. After all, I marched to the other side of the machine where a long pipe curled. I raised my poker and with a loud guttural cry from somewhere deep inside me, I stabbed the side of the machine. No, Constance, no, called Brant. The spear pierced the metal, and I was shocked when it plunged deep into the machine. I didn't really anticipate my plan would work. I thought I wouldn't be strong enough, or the metal of the machine would be impossible to penetrate. Black ink gushed out and rained down on me. I pulled hard on the poker and dislodged it, falling backward on the ground. I watched as the ink with its strange fingers groping its way along the floor towards me. I scrambled away from it, staring stunned at the mess I'd made. Constance, are you all right? Asked Brant, limping over and bending down at my side. I'm fine. I didn't think this would work. I was just angry. I was shaking now. My turn. I suppose what I had done. What had I done? And that is chapter 40, people. Alright. So, that is chapters 35 to 40. And, well, I think it was a good read. If you guys want me to do a freaking face reveal video or face reveal outro that isn't just accidental, I'll do it. Just let me know in the comments. And now, let's just sit and listen to Fire Frequency by Delta Pure Waves. hope you all have a great day, night, whatever time you're viewing this. And I wish you all the best. See you guys in the next video.